still remember around 12 o'clock, a general came to us and he said, listen guy, nothing to worry. We know that there might be attack tomorrow, Sunday, 5 p.m. Nothing to worry. We're totally ready. We're going to show them who is the boss. No problem. We are the big ideas. So we felt pretty good about it. And we did a little bit more packing. And at around 1:30, I'm hearing noises of airplanes. So I'm looking to the skies and I see airplanes coming toward us. And they were actually bombing us. And I said to myself, don't they have the Sinai is so big, why do they have to practice over our heads? I just didn't understand why they're trying to kill us. But, within a few seconds I realized it wasn't our planes, it was Egyptians, and we were under attack. And that's how the war started for us. We were totally unprepared. I think we were overconfident. We underestimated the enemy, and I think we did not see all the alerts that were pretty clear. And that was how the war started. We found our way toward the front. At that time, the Egyptians already crossed. I think Israel was under existential threat, as you all know. We did have some brilliant leaders like Ariel Sharon, and we moved from defense within 10 days to offense. I crossed the Suez Canal with Ariel Sharon. But I came out from the war. This is, by the way, a picture of Israeli hostages after the Egyptians took up the front of the Suez Canal. I came out of the war with the promise that I will always try to be on alert. I will never underestimate the enemies. Always be open eyes to see dangers coming. I finished the army, I got married, my wife is here, she's still with me. I guess I'm doing something right. Mazel tov, yeah. And I went to the Technion, we had 2 daughters. In 1981, we came here for a 2 years mission to get higher education. I went to USC, I promised my wife within 2 years we're coming back. After we finished, I told her maybe I can just recuperate the tuition, let's wait a month or 2. And 38 years after, I'm still recuperating the tuition. So I'm getting close, and my father didn't actually interfere in USC. I was acceptable without him. Alright. So anyway, like any other Jewish or Israeli living in America, I was busy on building my career and building my family. We had 2 daughters, and another daughter was born here, and having a lot of fun, going on vacation. I really didn't care too much about anything except that. But I think the thing that changed it was the Second Intifada in 2000. Second Intifada, just to remind all of you, Israel signed the Oslo agreements in 93 and 95. Those were temporary agreements. The idea was to move to a permanent agreement, and it was President Clinton in 2000 that summoned Ehud Barak, the Prime Minister of Israel, and Yasser Arafat, and asked them to come to Washington, D.C., Camp David, and try to sign a permanent agreement. The agreement was negotiated, and I think Ehud Barak said, I can pass it in the Israeli parliament. It's not easy. I can pass it. The Israeli people want peace. The peace agreement was Jerusalem was the capital of Palestine, and they got 98% of the West Bank. And Ehud Barak says, I know it's not popular, but I can pass it. The Israeli people want peace. Arafat said, let me sleep over it. And perhaps he's still sleeping because he never signed it. And when he came back to Israel, he said, you know what, I got all this peace, all this land by peace. Now let me see what I can get with terror. So he started a terror wave called the Second Intifada. And it was a lot of suicide bombers. Buses were exploding with Israelis in them, hotels, restaurants, if you remember. And we have seen the images here in the United States, and we were outraged. We've seen our brothers and sisters getting killed, we see body pieces, but the thing that was most outraged was the way the media here was picturing it. It was as if we, the Jews, are responsible for the killing of the Jews. It was us who didn't want to have peace, and that's why we deserve all these terror waves, and that was outrageous for us. I've seen demonstration on campus where, again, the students were against Israel, against us, and we felt, Gil and I, that we can no longer be silent, and we want to be active pro-Israel advocates. We didn't know what to do, but we felt that it's time for us to be more active. And we got introduced to Eshet Torah, the executive director is here, Ari Maltman, raise your hand, Apex, stand with us, and we were looking for some direction. What do we do to make an impact. But I think the turning point was a year later, in 2001. We went to see a movie in Bad Bet Shalom. Everybody knows the temple. It was actually the Israeli consulate and stand with us to screen a movie called Jihad in America. All right, Jihad in America. It was actually undercover detective that went into mosque in 1994. Steve Emerson, the investigative reporter, was the producer, and they were calling for killing Americans in the mosque. They were calling deaths to America in American mosques all over the country. And I felt that this is really a sign that something is going to happen. If people are calling to kill you, you need to take it seriously. It's not a joke. But Americans were feeling it's not really an issue. Maybe it's an issue in the Middle East. We are really not really affecting us. I remember coming out, it was Monday night. I came out of the synagogue with Gila. It was 10 o'clock. And I told her, you know what, until a major terror attack takes place in America, I don't think Americans will understand the severity of the danger. Anybody knows what day was it, the movie? Any guesses? September 10, yes, Professor, September 10.
Wow.
It was 8 hours before 9/11.
Wow.
Exactly. So again, we were on target. We have seen the signs. We've talked about it with very few people listening, and 9/11 started. So that was a turning point for us. We got more and more involved into pro-Israel advocacy, fighting against BDS, fighting against anti-Semitism. But you know what? In the beginning, and I think until maybe 3-4 years ago, people were telling me all over the country, don't talk about BDS, don't talk about anti-Semitism. You create anti-Semitism. The moment you speak about BDS, there is BDS. If you don't speak about it, it will go away. You are creating a problem. That's what people were telling me. If you looked at the newspaper, don't talk about those things, we create our own problem. We are our worst enemies, right? But we kept on speaking, and I think you would agree with me that anti-Semitism is becoming a major problem here in the United States. Maybe by raise of hands, anybody here was affected, or anybody you know was affected by anti-Semitism? Very few people, but who think that anti-Semitism is growing in the United States?
Growing all over the world.
All over the world. So I think there is a consensus growing all over the world, but maybe not here, not necessarily here, right? Well, let me give you some news. It's happening here. It's happening in Los Angeles. It happened even today. So let me give you some examples. First of all, if you look at FBI crime statistics, which are, 3 years old, they already see that 58 of the religiously motivated crimes in the United States are against Jews. And a survey that was done here in Los Angeles by the LA County, out of 101 religiously motivated hate crimes, 73 were against Jews. And that was 2017. Now we're in 2019 and the numbers just through the roof. Let me give you some examples. In October, Calabasas Eye was started with graffiti. In November, women going out of synagogues in North Hollywood, they got their wigs torn out from their heads. Also, in November, a driver on La Brea named, the police said his name was Muhammad, so convenient, tried to drive over Orthodox Jews coming out of the synagogue. In December, there was a guy standing near Chabad of West Hollywood with kafia and machete, and as if saying, today I'm here just taking a picture, tomorrow I'm here for serious business. And the police treated him as just some kind of lunatic that just happened to visit with machete near the synagogue taking pictures. In January of 2019, another temple Bethel in Ventura also got attacked. But let's talk about what's happening just in the last few days. This is the crime statistics. As I said, 58% are, you can't see? No. This is the guy with the machete in North Hollywood. You see, it means this guy was actually tweeting and posting that Jews are responsible for 9/11 and he's here to kill Jews, but the police have assumed that he was just minding his own business when he came like this to take a picture near Chabad of North Hollywood. And this just happened last week, Norman, Oklahoma. And today, 99 cents Woodland Hills, an Orthodox woman, got called a fucking Jew. Coffee was spilled all over her. Here in Tarzana, today, 99 cents. So it's here. I think it's here, and I think we no longer could say maybe it's someplace, but it's not here. It's not going to happen in America. It's happening in America, and it's happened here in Los Angeles. I want to read to you a letter that I took very personal. I got it from a mother of 3 kids, which I met many years ago, and we've been talking about anti-Semitism, but she never came out to do anything. And just a couple of months ago, I'm getting a letter from her, and I want to read the letter with you. She writes the following. She says, "Dear Adam, anti-Semitism is spreading like wildfire. My kids tell me what they hear from fellow classmates, and it's horrible. They get into argument all the time. Things like Israel is an apartheid state. You Jew have white privilege. You have Jew money. My son wanted to start a Jewish affinity group and was told by classmates that Jews are white and do not need an affinity group. One girl told my son, 'I'm tired of you talking about being Jewish and from Israel.' My son is only 12 years old, he was born here, and he said, 'But I have freedom of speech.' And then she said, 'I wish you didn't.' It's an open season on Jews now, so bad, scary, depressing. I don't remember it's ever being so bad. The problem is that we are not united as Jews, and sometimes we are our worst enemies." The end of the letter. I called her after the letter and asked her, "Where are your kids going to school?" And it turned out that they're going to a very prestigious public, semi-public, semi-private school here in West LA. And this is what's happening here in public schools in 2019. So I'm sure it's all over the country. And so clearly anti-Semitism is growing. It's becoming a disease in America. And I think we're here not just to talk about the problem, maybe discuss some ways to defeat it. So anti-Semitism, you all know, it's the world oldest disease. We were enslaved in Egypt 4,000 years ago. We were expelled from Spain. We had suffered pogroms in Europe. We suffered the Holocaust, and I think most of the Jews that lived in our world were extinct. So it's old. We are excellent when it comes to documenting anti-Semitism. There's nobody better than us in documenting what anti-Semitism is, who is responsible, why they hate us. We're the best. I mean, there is museum, there is books, there is movies. There's nobody better than us in understanding anti-Semitism. The question is what we do to defeat it. After the Holocaust, the Jews, most of the Jews in Europe, whatever was left over, left to Israel and left to the United States. Here, we built, I think, the most successful immigrant community in the history of the United States. In Israel, against all odds, the Israelis won against 6 Arab countries, established an independent country, which is a superpower today. And both the Jews in Israel and the Jews here constantly say, never again. Never again is now never again. However, when it comes from Israel, it feels a little bit different for me, and I want to show you why. This is a slow motion machine. Well, here we go.
(2003), an Air Force base in central Israel, the F-15 Eagle. Levko. His grandfather was a pilot in the Austro-Hungarian Air Force during World War I. This saved his father's family in Budapest during the Holocaust. Shin Shon, a reserve pilot. He was named after an uncle that was murdered in the Lodz ghetto. Brigadier General Amir Eshel, the commander of the Air Force Base and the flyover mission. 11:50 a.m. Takeoff of the 3 F-15s. The pilots begin their journey. Their mission, a flyover during a commemorative ceremony at Auschwitz. They will demonstrate that Hitler failed, that a strong and thriving Jewish state has risen, a state with a powerful army that safeguards all of the world's Jews, translating the words "never again" into action.
The secret mission was to fly
Brigadier
over
General
Auschwitz.
Ido Nahishtat leads a special remembrance
when a ceremony
attended
takes
by
place
officers
on
from
ground.
all branches of the IDF. In paying tribute to the dead, they send a powerful message about their sacred commitment to protecting the Jewish people.
באנו כדי ללמוד משהו על תרבות יהודית שהייתה, לעצום עיניים ולראות מסחר ער בכיכר תקדים, לשמוע חכמים מתפלפלים בישיבת לובלין, את הרמה פוסק בתורה, שדגן העיירה היהודית חיה ותוססת. ההתנגדות היהודית הפכה לצבא מודרני בעל עוצמה אדירה. רוח הקרב שלכם חיה ופועמת בו. נזכר.
אנו תומכי והערבים הישראלים בשני מחנה הצבא קמנו מעבר לפני הקורבנות זוכרים את זעקתם מצליחים את מלחמתם ומפסיקים להיות מגן העם היהודי ומאותו יפוצים.
Is very meaningful, and there is a lot of power behind it. But back to the United States, we also say never again. But unfortunately, I believe if anti-Semitism is just a Jewish problem in America, we're not going to ever be able to defeat it. Why? Our numbers are minimal. We're only 2% of the population. We're split. Half of the Jews are for us, half of the Jews against us. And we cannot afford to take any risk or do anything. I got a lot of people that I say, would you like to help me? And they say, well, I love what you're doing, Adam, but I cannot afford to help you. If somebody find out that I'm doing something, my business, my home, my grass, my car, my family, not willing to do anything, not willing to take any risk. We have too much to lose, they tell me. If we have too much to lose, we're going to lose everything at some point. And but I think we're lucky that anti-Semitism, and that's what I want to show you here, anti-Semitism is not just a Jewish problem, it's an American problem. And with our brothers and sisters, American, we can do much more. So what is anti-Semitism and who is promoting anti-Semitism? Anti-Semitism is basically promoted by three-edged monster. We have the radical Muslims, we have the radical right, and we have the radical left. Each one of those movements, if we look at it, is actually putting on its mission to change the United States of America, changing the world. Each one of them want to change America, want to change the American values, our way of life, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion. Everything that is dear to us, they want to change. But in the short time, while they know it's not going to change over time, in the short time, their rhetoric is inciting for violence. And each one of those movements, and we will go into details, actually incite for violence. Unfortunately, Jews a lot of the time are the first victim, or some of the victims, much more than our percentage in the population, because, let's be honest, we are the best community to attack. We don't respond. We blame ourselves for our problems, so why shouldn't they attack us first? But we are just the first target. Their target is America. Let's explore each one of them separately. Let's start from radical Islam. They hate anyone that is an unbeliever or an infidel, right? And they would like to have some kind of an Islamic caliphate in the United States in maybe 100 years from now. In the meantime, they're affecting it by immigration, but it's not working that well, and they also converting the population to Islam or make the population more, I think, friendly to Islam by educating our high school, our university teacher, think tanks, media, and we hear all the time that they are the religious of peace. But in the short term, with all that, we have a lot of terrorist attacks inspired by radical Islam. 9/11, San Bernardino, Boston Marathon, Fort Hood, Orlando. Just yesterday, anybody there's a National Arbor in Washington, D.C., an ISIS-inspired man stole a U-Haul, wanted to drive through the crowd to mimic what happened in Nice in 2016. In Nice, another ISIS-inspired drove through the crowd, killed 80 and injured 400. So that's what he had in his sight, and he said, I didn't plan to come out alive from it. I just wanted to kill as many unbelievers that I can. A movie that was just produced last month in the Israeli TV showed undercover reporters going into American mosque here, where the people are calling to kill Jews. It's not about Israel. They kill to kill Jews because Jews are greedy, conniving, and of course we don't have loyalty to America. And they're saying we're going to come out of the mosque and we will kill Jews. Now, when they're saying it, I think they mean not everybody, but at some point somebody will do something, and we are kind of asleep. So they're enemies of the United States. Let's move to the radical right. We know the radical right hated us from the sheep, from the beginning. But in fact, they hate anything that is not just like them. So anyone that is not white or Christian, they hate immigrants, African Americans, Latino, Jews, gay, lesbian, anything that doesn't feel good for them, they want to destroy. So their vision for America is to have some kind of a Nazi America, white supremacist America. In the short term, they have no problem, some of them, to take weapons and execute, like what happened in Petersburg, and what happened in New Zealand a week or two ago, and extremely dangerous. But they're enemies of the United States. The Jews are just the first target, the easy target, but America is next. And the last one, see, it's already. I didn't move to those guys. Nice guys. And now radical left. Now radical left has always been anti-Semites. We're all familiar with the protocols of the Elders of Zion that was a forgery by the Russian of 100 and some ago. They blame the Jews are greedy, conniving, controlling the world, else, don't have loyalty to anything, and the same verbiage we're hearing today in America. The same thing that we're not loyal is coming again. Now, the radical left, and when I talk about radical left, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about Democrats or progressive people or liberal people. I'm talking about far left, the people that would like the United States of America to be a communist country. Communism didn't work any place in the world, but they know exactly the right formula, and it's going to work here just exactly like it worked in Venezuela. Give them the chance. You never know. It didn't work. It didn't work any place in the world, but they have the formula, and they are vile anti-Semites. They promoted, the people that promoted the BDS movement, now anti-Semitism in the United States, is mostly the radical left, because they control the media, they control the campuses, they control the think tanks, many of them, and they are the #1 promoter of anti-Semitism. But what is a vision for America? We discussed. Maybe Venezuela. So they have a vision for America where all the money is taken from us and the way to be given to people that get stuck. No freedom of speech, no freedom of religions, in America that is going to be Venezuela. So all those three radical movements, I hope you agree with me, are enemies of America. And if we can somehow convince the American that those are enemies of America, we got allies to work with, right? Today, we're not saying it, we're not really telling them those are your enemies, we're just focusing on ourselves. But those are enemies of America, and the sooner America, the better we all will be. So we need to fight against anti-Semitism. We need to somehow educate our American brothers and sisters. But if we are determined to do it now, I think we're in a good point of time. And why is that? If we are today going to stand up and fight back, we have three factors that are working on our side. Number one is the state of Israel. We have very strong superpower, give us power, energy, and protection, sanctuary for all the Jews, the state of Israel, and not only giving us moral, but all the other ammunition to fight back and to stay strong. Unfortunately, as you know, there are some good Jews, good intentions, that feel that the best thing that they can do is to criticize Israel, right? You want to sit? No questions now, just sit. So, good intentions, Jewish country, and our duty as American citizens is to make sure that the state of Israel is strong and to be able to provide us the backing that we need. Number two, we're still the most successful immigrant community in the history of the United States. We have resources, we have influence, we are in every big industry. Our enemies are gaining power and they're going up, but we still have a lot of resources and influence. Now is the time to use our resources and influence, because if we don't use it now, perhaps so many Americans, brothers and sisters, they see the same danger to freedom of speech and freedom of religions and all the American values, and we are not alone in this war. So I think because of those three factors, now is the time to go on the offense and fight back. Now, the Jewish community here, we have done a lot of things, but one thing for sure, we've never gone on offense. It's not in our blood. But I'm here to tell you that if we want to make a difference, if we want to move the needle, we need to go from defense to offense, and we need to do things that we have never done before. Let's not repeat the same thing that we have done before. I'm not saying what we've done is bad, but it's not enough. And if we're just going to do more of the same thing, we will never move the needle. We need to think about new things. We need to go from defense to offense, and we need to make an impact. So, again, there are many, many programs and organizations doing great work, and I'm not here to say that we should replace them. They should all stay. You can continue to support them, but I'm here to basically introduce to you few new platforms that are based on the principle I just said: move from defense to offense, be innovative, out of the box, and make an impact. And in order to make an impact and go from defense to offense, we need to understand who is the enemy. Who is the enemy, right? Who are those radical movements? Who is funding them? What's their program? What's their planning? How they operate? Who's in the network, right? Who is who? What they're doing? How they're operating? We need to have this research done. We don't have the numbers, but with brain, we can be stronger. So I think to understand the enemy and study the enemy is really a priority. And then I want to introduce to you 3 different platforms that I support. You don't have to support them, but to just show you where things that I feel are making a difference, and I'll tell you how they're making a difference. The first one is an organization called Stop Antisemitism. The mission of this organization is holding anti-Semites accountable and creating consequences for whatever they do. We have right now Ilan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, you're familiar with 2 lovely women, right? Hate the United States, hate the Jews. If we just come and say they're anti-Semites, nobody cares. But what we're doing through Stop Antisemitism, we're showing they're anti-American. We're showing that they are supported by an organization called CARE. CARE was established by Hamas, Muslim Brotherhood, and they basically, by virtue of being representative of CARE, they are representative of Muslim Brotherhood in the American Congress. And that is a danger to America. We just read, this body just read a petition against those 2 lovely ladies. Here we go. called the United States Attorney General and Special Envoy for Antisemitism, Ilan Carr, our friend from LA, to probe Hamas affiliate ties in Congress. Now we have Hamas represented in Congress, and we're asking the Attorney General and Ilan Carr to research Hamas connection in the American Congress. And you can see every day what those women are saying. We don't have loyalty to, they have loyalty, we don't have loyalty to America, right? We are the Benjamins, we're conniving. They're representing Hamas in our Congress, and we are going to keep them accountable and show their connection to terrorism and the fact that they are anti-American. That's where it hurts them. The second activity is not really focused on Jewish, it's focusing on and educating the American people that racism against Jews is racism against Americans. Hatred is a danger for America, and we should all wake up to fight against hatred and the violence that emanates from those radical movements. It's based on the idea, if anybody here went to Israel? Anybody? One, okay, two. Oh, okay. When you go to Israel, everybody is on alert, right? We're looking around, suspicious activity, somebody left a backpack over there. We actually immediately bring the attention of the police officer. Everybody is on alert. But in America, it's not the case. We are not aware that there is violence here. We're not aware that we, as citizens, need to do something or that we can do something about it. So most of the people are just minding their own business. But if we can actually convince those people that there is some danger in the United States and that they can be the eyes, the ears, the boots of any kind of potential violence and report it to someplace who will take their complaint seriously, will study it and provide it to the law enforcement agencies, then we can create an Israeli on alert people here in America. So the mission of this Center for Combating Hate in America, or the acronym is C4CHA, is to provide the public with the information they need, safety they want, and peace of mind they deserve. And lastly, so just to go back to the way that the Center for Combating Hate in America will work is basically people will be invited to provide an incident report, any kind of information they have to the center. The center will basically look at the information, decide if it's credible or not. If it's credible, it will get more research, and once we have a credible action report, it will be given to law enforcement agencies so that they can prevent violence. This center is focused on the three radical movements we discussed, and specifically on violence that can emanate from those radicals. And lastly, it's something that we do here in Los Angeles. It's basically a luncheon where we bring a group of philanthropists to meet each other, to build a network of support. And every time we bring two small organizations that make huge impact. And so huge, I want to tell you what happened today. I don't know if you heard that Airbnb a few months ago decided to boycott Israel. Today, they announced that they're no longer going to boycott any rental in Israel, and that they are going to be the boycott movement. Now, many organizations were involved, but I'm very proud to tell you that at least three of the organizations we presented here and made an impact on this decision presented here to the Impact Forum, and those organizations are NGO Monitor, if anybody is familiar, Shurat Adin, and Ifa Segal from the International Israeli Legal Forum. Excellent. So Elena is the program director of this Impact Forum. It meets, the next meeting is in this Thursday, and normally the people that come to the Impact Forum commit to help the organization that presents. So this is for philanthropists who want to meet other philanthropists, who want to build coalition, and want to help organizations that make real impact. Don't talk so much, but do the right thing. Very small organization, huge impact.
Wow.
All right, so everybody asks, so what do you want from us? What can we do here, right? So I'll give you some ideas. You need, first of all, to decide that you want to be proactive, that you want to be involved. You want to fight back. You don't want to say, you know what, let somebody else get and worry about it. It's not for me, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have money, I have money, whatever it is. If it's your stuff, if you want to be proactive, then let's talk about what each one of us can do. And when it comes to that, money is the name of the game. I know that money is a problem, but with money we can hire people, with money we can hire hardware, we can hire software, we can run campaign, do a lot of things. Money moves the world around, and this is the number one thing that we need to fight anti-Semitism. Of course, people that don't have money have time. The ability to use time is more limited because you can spread the word, you can spread petition, you can talk to friends, but it's not as effective as money. And on top of money and time, you have connection. Each one of you knows somebody else that can help in this mission. So if you cannot help yourself, you always know somebody who might help. Please tell them about the issues. If they want to be involved, we will be very glad to talk to them. We'll leave you cards. I have cards on me after the talk, and we can show people how with money, mostly money, and with some time, we can make a difference in America. We can move the needle. I want to finish up my part here with some words of Golda Meir. And Golda came to the United States in the beginning of 1948. It was January, before the independence war, and Israel needed a lot of money to buy weapons and fight back against the attack that we knew is coming. And she said the following, and I think it's still relevant today, so I want to read it to you. She said the following: I want to end with few words of inspiration. That's me, not there. And here you go. You cannot decide whether we should fight or not. We will. This decision is already taken. Nobody can change it. You can only decide one thing: whether we shall be victorious in this fight or whether our enemies will be victorious. This decision is the decision you, us, American Jews, need to take. And I beg you, don't be too late. Don't be bitterly sorry later for what you failed to do today. The time is now to take action. Thank you very much.